Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my April wrap-up. In April I managed to finish 7 books, and the first book that I finished in April was The Lies of Lockemora by Lynch, which is book 1 in the Gentleman Bastards series, and I decided I would quickly finish this at the beginning of the month so I'd feel accomplished because I only had 200 pages left. So finish this in a couple days. I wouldn't say this is my favorite series. I'm not dying to pick up the next one, but I do want to continue it at some point. There's a lot of stuff that I do like about this series, and it follows Lamora and his gang of petty thieves, basically, just trying to survive in this world. And as you might imagine, there's a lot of lies, deceit, plots, and all manner of untruths involved. That's why it's called The Lies of Lockemora. But yeah, I really liked it, but it did drag in places and took me a while to get into the characters and story for this one. But I will be continuing on at some point. I also read The Echo Man by Sam Holland, which was a debut thriller about a copycat serial killer that copied the famous death scenes of other serial killers. And it was really brutal, and I could not stop reading it. It was really a page turner. I really loved it. And I could tell that the author had done their research on a lot of serial killers. Next, I finished the audiobook for Misery by Stephen King, which I really ended up loving Misery. I thought that the main villain is super scary. It's about a writer who's taken hostage by his biggest fan under the guise of nursing him back to health after a car accident. And she forces him to write a book in her favorite series for her. Way more scary than I was expecting it to be. That scariness comes from her mental illness, it seems. Some people are not a fan of that, but a truly unhinged character. It really did affect me in a certain kind of way, and I loved it. Another book that I read and reviewed this month was The City of Dusk by Tara Sim, which is the first book in a new series, and this one was a dark fantasy. It was great. I loved all the dark elements with necromancy, bone magic, all of the magic system is where the darkness came from, and I was feeling it. There was some really great atmosphere with the setting, and there were a few too many characters for my liking, a little hard to keep track of all of them. That might have been a similar problem with Lockemora. It's a thing. It happens in fantasy, epic fantasy stories. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one and can't wait to read on. I recently finished The Hand That Pulls You Under, Tales of Absurdity and Lunacy by James Flynn, who has a booktube channel. It'll be linked down below. I just recently did a review for this one as well. It's a collection of short stories that are on the weird side, lots of horror, some sci-fi, some psychological, some just a lot of very creative, interesting ideas, and were very unsettling, and it was a great collection. There were a couple of them that I didn't like as much because they had graphic sex or animal death in them, but for the most part, it was a fantastic collection. Next, I finished the audiobook for Razorblade Tears, which I read for Brad Proctor's book club and on his Discord, and this was an intense book. It was brutal, it was gritty. You know, it was about these two older men whose sons are killed because they are gay, and they were not the best dads as far as accepting that their sons were gay until, you know, they were gone, and now they're dealing with the loss and coming to grips with their failings and growing a little bit. I say a little bit because also they're going to go on this rampage of revenge and avenge their son's murders. And yeah, it was really, really fantastic. Oh, I just loved it so much. And then the last book that I finished in April was Communion, a True Story by Whitley Streiber, which is about his experience with alien visitation, abduction, experimentation, that kind of thing. And I went into this a skeptic, but it was still a very interesting story. It's a scary story for what this family went through and discovered through hypnosis. They brought out more details. That all was very fascinating to read about. There were other sections, since this is a nonfiction, that goes into the ideas of alien abduction, the history of it, the conspiracies around it, and connections to other things. It got a bit much for me. I didn't necessarily like the those sections at the end of the book. I mostly was in it for this family story, and that part was pretty darn good. I did enjoy my time reading this. That is all 7 books that I read in the month of April. Have you read any of these books, and what did you think of them? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments, and I will be back very soon with another book-related video. Thanks. Bye.